Welcome back to another episode of Mastering English Fluency. I'm Julia, your host for today. We're diving into a fascinating technique called shadowing, which helps language learners improve their spoken English by mimicking real-life conversations. To guide us through this, we have the expert Kate with us. Kate, could you start by explaining what shadowing exactly is and why it's so effective for mastering English fluency?
Thanks so much for having me, Julia. Shadowing is a technique where learners listen to native speakers' conversations and simultaneously try to repeat what they hear, almost like an echo. The key part is that it's done in real time, which forces your brain to process language quickly, almost on the spot. This method is so effective because it trains not only pronunciation but also rhythm, intonation, and natural phrasing. Instead of focusing on memorizing grammar rules or isolated vocabulary, learners absorb how English sounds in everyday use. It builds a kind of muscle memory for speaking that can dramatically boost fluency. Plus, it's fun and immersive.
That sounds fascinating, Kate. I love the idea of training the brain to process language quickly. Could you walk us through what a typical shadowing exercise looks like? How should learners pick the right material, and is there a step-by-step way to get started that maximizes results?
Absolutely, Julia. A typical shadowing exercise starts with choosing a short, authentic audio clip, something like a casual conversation, a podcast snippet, or even a dialogue from a TV show. The key is to pick material that matches your current level but also pushes you just a bit beyond your comfort zone. Here's a simple step-by-step approach. 1. Listen first. Play the clip a few times without speaking, just to get the overall feel and meaning. 2. Repeat and shadow. Play the clip again, but this time, speak aloud immediately after the speaker, or almost simultaneously, mimicking their speed, tone, and rhythm. 3. Focus on intonation and stress. Try to imitate the natural rises and falls in their voice, the stresses on certain words, and the connection between words. 4. Practice in short segments. Break the clip into smaller parts if it feels overwhelming, then gradually combine those parts. 5. Record yourself. Listen back to spot differences and areas to improve. By consistently practicing this way, learners tune their ear and mouth to English patterns, helping them sound more natural and confident in real conversations.
Thanks for that clear outline, Kate. I really like the idea of breaking clips into smaller chunks. It makes the process feel more approachable. I'm curious, though, how important is it for learners to choose content that matches their interests? Does picking topics you're passionate about make shadowing more effective?
Great question, Julia. Choosing content that genuinely interests you is actually super important. When you're engaged with the topic, you're much more motivated to repeat and really dive into the nuances of the conversation. Interest naturally boosts attention and retention, which means your brain is working harder to absorb those rhythms and expressions. Plus, when you enjoy the material, shadowing feels less like a chore and more like an enjoyable activity. That positive feeling often leads to longer, more consistent practice sessions, key for mastering fluency. So yes, picking topics you're passionate about not only makes shadowing more fun but also significantly enhances its effectiveness.
That makes so much sense, Kate. When language learning feels like play rather than work, it really sticks better. Shifting gears a bit, though, some learners might feel self-conscious about shadowing aloud, especially if they're practicing around others. Do you have any tips for tackling that kind of hesitation, so learners can make the most of this technique even if they're shy?
Absolutely, Julia. This is such a common concern. First, I want to reassure learners that feeling self-conscious is completely normal. Shadowing is all about practice and growth, so it's okay to start small. One great tip is to begin practicing in a private, comfortable space where you feel safe to make mistakes and experiment with sounds. Another strategy is to use headphones and speak softly at first, almost like whispering. This can help build confidence gradually. Over time, as learners get more comfortable and notice improvements, they can increase volume and try practicing in more public settings if they want. And remember, nobody expects perfection. Native speakers themselves often make mistakes. Shadowing is a personal journey, so embracing that vulnerability leads to faster progress. It's all about creating a positive, non-judgmental environment where speaking becomes a habit instead of a hurdle.
Those are really encouraging tips, Kate. It's so important to create a judgment-free zone for ourselves. Before we wrap up, can you share some advice on how often learners should practice shadowing to see real improvements? Is there an ideal daily or weekly routine you'd recommend?
Thanks, Julia. Consistency is absolutely key with shadowing. Ideally, I recommend practicing every day, even if it's just for 10 to 15 minutes. Short, focused sessions are more effective than occasional long marathons because they keep your brain continually engaged with the sounds and rhythms of English. If daily practice isn't possible, aim for at least 3 to 4 times a week. The goal is to build a habit so that your brain and mouth become accustomed to the language's natural flow. Also, mixing different materials keeps things fresh and challenges different aspects of your speaking skills. Remember, progress might feel subtle at first, but with regular practice, you'll start noticing smoother speech, better intonation, and greater confidence in conversations. So, make shadowing a fun daily ritual. It's a game changer.
Kate, I love how you emphasized making shadowing a fun daily ritual. It really takes the pressure off and turns learning into an enjoyable habit. Thank you so much for sharing these insights with our listeners today. Before we sign off, could you recommend any specific resources or platforms where learners can find great shadowing materials to get started?
Thank you, Julia. I'm glad you brought that up. There are several fantastic resources out there for shadowing practice. For beginners, TED Talks with transcripts are great. They're engaging and come with subtitles so you can follow along easily. Websites like ESL Lab and English Class 101 offer a variety of real-life dialogues tailored for different levels. Podcasts are another amazing source. Shows like Luke's English Podcast or The English We Speak provide conversational content with clear, natural speech. And if learners prefer video, YouTube channels like Rachel's English and Learn English with TV series have excellent clips specifically designed for pronunciation and shadowing. The key is to explore and find materials that resonate with your interests and level. Starting with something you enjoy makes the shadowing journey that much richer. Happy practicing.
Kate, this is fantastic advice. I love how accessible these resources are, whether you prefer podcasts, videos, or transcripts. It really helps learners tailor their shadowing practice to their own taste and learning style. Thank you again for joining us and for sharing your expertise on mastering English fluency through shadowing. To our listeners, don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the resources Kate mentioned. Until next time, keep practicing and keep enjoying the journey.